I'm so happy to be introducing a person who I thought would never say yes to the invitation to become our guest of honor and speaker for tonight, no? Talagang dasal ako ng dasal. Lalo na sinabi, she's no longer based here. But, di ba, she is here. So, Maria Ressa has been a journalist for nearly 40 years. Parang 40 years old na rin. No? As Rappler's co-founder and CEO, she endured and thankfully survived constant political harassments and arrests by the Duterte government. No? In 2021, as you would know, Maria was named a Nobel Prize winner. No? Sobrang happy. No? And this is because she wanted all her efforts were recognized in safeguarding the freedom of expression, which is a precondition for democracy and lasting peace. No? In fact, for her courage and work on disinformation and fake news, Maria was named Time Magazine's 2018 Person of the Year. She was among its 100 most influential people of 2019, one of its most influential women of the century. She was also part of BBC's 100 most inspiring and influential women in 2019 and Prospect Magazine's World Top 50 Thinkers. Currently, she is a professor of practice at Columbia University and co-leads its technology initiative. All these other bits of information, actually, you can Google, it's all there. But I think you don't know that she earned a certificate at Princeton University for theater and dance. Alam niyo ba yun? Tama ba? So meron lighter side din naman si Maria, no? And the other thing that maybe you don't know, no? And I would like to show it, but wait, before you show it, you know, I joined SWS in June 1988. Ancient na ako sa SWS. Kita ba? But anyway, when I joined in June, 1 month after, July 1988, kasali na siya sa history ng SWS. No? And I'd like to show this clip. Fern?
Okay, kayo po ay nasa surveys and trends at pinag-uusapan po natin ngayon ang performance ratings ng ating pamahalaan.
Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat.
We have on surveys and trends and in cooperation with the social weather stations.
Yes. July 1988, kasama na si Maria Ressa sa history ng SWS. I remember, as you can see, no, data writer nila ako. And you know, at that time, there was still no teleprompter. So what did I do? You know, I cut pieces of Manila paper and then pasted them together. Tapos ako yung taga-ikot. Babasahin ni Mahar. yung report na ginawa ko, depending on the topic. You know, that program started July 1988, every Monday, until September 1988. So talagang ancient na ako sa SWS. And with that, Maria, I'm so happy, we're also happy that you agreed to become our guest of honor and speaker tonight.
Ang hirap naman po, baka gutom na po kayo. So I'm standing between you and dinner. First, what an incredible honor. Linda, I live in Manila. I have one last court case left, so I live in Manila. No, every time I have to leave, I still have to ask for permission to travel. But I am so thrilled to be here because in front of me, I literally see my 20-year-old self. Linda was our writer. Tetis was Mahar's manager at that point. Pro Productions had 2 programs on PTV4. The 2 live shows that I directed, one was Surveys and Trends. And who were the people in Surveys and Trends? Mahar, Pepe Miranda, Mercy Abad. I had just come back to the Philippines in '86, and I was learning, even as I was directing it. So first I had to battle with PTV4 because they didn't want a circular table, but I wanted to play with it, right? So I was a young whippersnapper, and they let me play. Surveys and Trends was one, but the other one you have to remember, left brain, right brain, kasi ang thinking namin palagi, was No Nonsense with Dr. Margie Holmes. So, I feel like history is here for me, but, you know, we had a battle about that word sex. We won't go there for now, but look, I just wanted to say, Cheche Lazaro was our executive producer, but the people who taught me about the Philippines were whom I not only directed, but I also learned from, was SWS. So thank you. Thank you. Just remember, at that point in time, the Philippines was just emerging from kind of the darkness of martial law. I was working in PTV4 for a big part, right? And grappling with how do you restore democratic institutions. The country desperately needed independent voices to help us understand ourselves. The coup attempt years from 1987 to 1989, and Mahar just reminded me that the SWS surveys from that time period were incredibly important. Remember, all of the coup attempts, and yet what SWS showed was that woman president still had the faith of the people, right? So that was really important because in that crucial moment, SWS chose to do something revolutionary, to systematically ask Filipinos what they thought, how they felt, and what they needed, and to do that with scientific rigor, unwavering independence, and uncompromising integrity. What makes SWS extraordinary is not just its longevity, 40 years old, but its fundamental understanding that democracy thrives on information, accurate, reliable, and accessible information about the people it serves. And for 40 years, SWS operated on this powerful idea, but so simple, that every Filipino voice matters, that public opinion is not noise, but the very foundation upon which democratic governance must rest. Today, our world is upside down. It's dominated by echo chambers and algorithmic bubbles. While social media amplifies the loudest voices, the extreme 6%, The political machinery is using big tech, the social media platforms, to actually manufacture consensus. SWS has quietly, methodically, and faithfully documented what Filipinos think, not what politicians want them to think, but what they genuinely believe about their lives, their government, and their future. This commitment to scientific integrity makes SWS, and I don't say this lightly, a guardian of democracy. In an era where alternative facts compete with actual facts, where disinformation spreads faster than truth, the rigorous methodology of public opinion research becomes resistance. It's a form of resistance. It's resistance against manipulation, against the weaponization of information, and against those who claim to speak for the people, but they don't ever really listen to them. The early collaboration with SWS taught me something really profound about the relationship between journalism and public opinion research. We journalists, yes, we write the first page of history, but SWS reveals the deeper currents of public sentiment that shape our tomorrow. Both institutions, and I hope we survive this big tech time period, that we exist to serve the public's right to know, operating as democratic checks and balances. In a political culture that's often characterized by personal loyalty over institutional loyalty, building institutions has been our greatest challenge as a people. SWS maintained its accuracy, getting rid of expediency, that it is public service over political patronage. I think, like journalists, SWS used that same meticulous care whether the news was bad or good for whoever was sitting in power. Today, as we celebrate 40 years, this is my 39th year, so I'm like one year behind SWS. I think we need to acknowledge that the public opinion polling, that it's fundamentally changed. The internet and social media have democratized our ability to conduct surveys. You saw some of this, right? Using the phones to measure sentiment and to claim insight into public opinion. This new technology has created new challenges. Online polls can be manipulated by bots. Social media metrics can be gained by coordinated campaigns. We've done a lot of exposés on this on Rappler. The loudest voices online are not necessarily representative of broader public sentiment. In this environment, it's even more important to have the kind of rigor that SWS represents, because here it's essential. We live in an age of information warfare, where foreign actors and domestic political operators, and Rappler has named them, deploy sophisticated techniques to manufacture artificial consensus, to amplify divisive voices, and to undermine and destroy trust. This is where institutions like SWS can serve as an anchor, providing a reliable baseline for understanding what people really think. It's a chicken or the egg, right? When you can manipulate the cellular level of a democracy, what are we really seeing? Because the digital age also represents opportunities. Technology can make surveys more efficient. You saw this in the mobile surveys that SWS did. It can be more responsive and more inclusive. Mobile phones can reach communities that you couldn't reach before. I remember sitting and listening to Mercy Abad tell me about how they got to these places. Online platforms can bring a younger demographic. Rappler, for example, was one of 10 groups that was chosen out of 1,000 by OpenAI to use generative AI for democratic consultation. democratic consultation. And we've developed that so it could be used by cities for near real-time policy consultation. The challenge that we face in harnessing this new technology is, can we maintain the same scientific rigor that has made SWS trustworthy for 40 years? That's the challenge. And while I was writing this speech, I sat there and I thought about all the data SWS has. And that has given me more ideas of how we can work together in the next 40 years, right? I'm going to end with just 4 lessons I think we can get from SWS. The first, independence is not just an ideal, it's a necessity. The moment research institutions become captured by political or commercial interests, they lose their most valuable asset, which is credibility. The second, transparency in methodology is far more important today than ever. Transparency builds public trust. SWS has always been open about how it conducts surveys, who funds its work, and what limitations exist in data. This transparency doesn't weaken its authority, it strengthens it by allowing the public to judge the reliability of its findings. Third, consistency over time creates irreplaceable value. SWS's true power is not in any one survey, but in the longitudinal data that allows us to track changes in Filipino attitudes, values, and priorities over 40 years, right? This long view provides perspectives that daily news cycles just can't offer. And then the last one, public service rather than profit as a primary motivation sustains institutional integrity. You have heard me talk about big tech and how surveillance for profit has captured us, right? SWS stands for the opposite of that. These lessons, the 4 of them, apply not just to research institutions, but to all organizations committed to democratic values, including news groups, news organizations. And we're hitting a point where in the next 6 to 8 months, you're going to see whether or not news, journalism can survive the big tech assault. In an era when media companies face enormous commercial pressure and political intimidation, the SWS model offers a roadmap for maintaining integrity while remaining relevant and sustainable. That may also be part of the roadmap ahead for SWS, working with journalists and technologists to help lead civil society, because the greatest challenge we face today is to redefine what civic engagement means in the age of exponential lies, when lying can get you elected, right? We're seeing this all around the world. The greatest threat to democracy today isn't any single political actor. It's not the names. It's the gradual erosion of a shared commitment to democratic norms and institutions. In Rappler, we called it death by 1,000 cuts. When we stop believing in truth, we abandon faith in evidence, lose trust in public interest institutions, democracy dies. I joke all the time that what happened in the Philippines is now happening all over the world, that we're just a little bit ahead of the pack. And now, our democracy has moved from hell to purgatory. But those bigger democracies in the West are now in hell. The Philippines can prove that things can get better, and that at this moment of creative destruction, perhaps we can even show the world the way forward, Representative Diokno, right? Maybe it's in the Philippines. Yes. Clap for yourselves, right? We've seen 40 years, but the history of the Philippines now offers some lessons for the rest of the world. So tonight, and let me close with this, celebrating 40 years of social weather stations, we celebrate something larger, The idea that democracy works best when it listens, measures, and remains accountable to the people it serves. It's the reason why journalists are not propagandists. We want to give people the choice for the future because we're not arrogant enough to think we know better. From those early days directing surveys and trends to tonight, I've witnessed SWS embody democratic faith. Its awards, the global awards from 2019, the International Society for Quality of Life Studies confirms what we've always known. This institution doesn't just measure public opinion, it strengthens democracy itself. It's the feedback loop of authenticity. So, what's next? SWS needs to continue to help lead civil society. May it continue for 40 more years, and may we all recommit to the essential work of building and protecting Philippine democracy, one survey, one story, one truth, one fact at a time. Thank you. Thank you for all you do.
Maraming salamat po, Ms. Maria Ressa. Your words fuel our sense of purpose and reaffirm our commitment to democracy and truth. May we request you to please go back on stage as I call on the rest of the SWS board members for our celebratory toast. So please may I call on Dennis Arroyo, Ella Atienza, please go on stage. Dr. Filimon Gutierrez, Jojo Tigno, Jeff Ducanes, Tita Da, Dr. Jasmine Acuña, Dr. Vic Paqueo, please.
Can I also quickly say thank you to our Rappler's board director, Tony Lavinia, who's also with SWS.
All right. Please join us. Tara.